even though Audi lightly updated the A4 just last year, they're already bringing it under the knife again for 2020. And this time, not just for some styling revisions in the front, but for a whole refresh both on the outside, inside, and in regards to the technology. That's why we're very excited that one of these has already showed up at Audi of Lexington so quickly. And of course, if you're in the market for any new Audi, make sure you stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with more new competition than ever before, let's go ahead and see if this refreshed A4 remains one of the segment's top products. Now before we begin here, I just want to go ahead and kind of preface that this vehicle has showed up really early. Actually, Audi doesn't have any information available for the US market. So basically we're going off the sticker and some incomplete information that I'm kind of brought over from the released one in Europe. So take everything a little bit with a grain of salt. This is kind of all we know right now. But just kind of getting into the styling, as you can see, obviously things have changed for 2020. The big update here is going to be the new single frame grille. Now, unlike the European model, here in the US, we've got the standard S line. So that gives us the sportier grille. So you'll notice kind of the honeycomb black mesh fascia here with the little mustache accent. It does make it look significantly different than the outgoing model. Now, as far as your headlights, they have also changed significantly as well. Now this is the premium model, so this is the base trim level. And you notice that even on this model, we have standard LEDs, and then the higher end models are gonna have like a more elaborate matrix design. And then down at the bottom here, you've got your large silver accent, as well as your safety system sensors. And then there'll likely still be a black optic package available if you want a sportier option. Now coming down here to the wheels, obviously we don't know exactly what kind of configurations Audi is gonna offer this year. However, we can talk about these premium wheels on this model. Really a fan of this design. This basically looks like the Audi S4, and like I said, this is the very base model. It is 18 inches, and you can go up from there. Now, as far as the mirrors, of course, you do have standard heating. Then you have blind spot monitoring, as well as power folding and auto dimming. Those will be offered on the Premium Plus and the Prestige level.
Alrighty, and walking around to the 2020 A4's rear design, basically the first thing that you're going to notice for this year is that it basically looks like a baby A6, and that's because Audi has added a few different pieces in there from the A6. So you do have this chrome across the deck lid, which is new for 2020, as well as the revised taillight design. This is the newest Audi LED taillights. These are fully LED taillights. And down below here, we do also have enlarged dual exhaust pipes. And one thing to note about this is that these are actually real exhaust pipes, unlike most of the other Audi models. Now, in terms of the safety front for the 2020 A4, we do have one change, and that's standard auto high beams on the premium model, and that comes in addition to its already standard forward emergency braking. And likely, as with last year, you will have the driver's assistance package added on the higher end trims, so Premium Plus and Prestige, and that would throw in the adaptive cruise control with traffic jam assist, as well as your blind spot monitoring. Well guys, that sums up pretty much all of the big exterior changes for this refreshed A4. So now let's go ahead and hop inside and see what's different in there.
So for 2020, the smart entry situation does stay the same. So you've still got this key fob, and smart entry comes standard on Premium Plus and Prestige, or is optional via the convenience package on the Premium. That does mean getting in is nice and easy. You're just going to reach behind the handle and the door will unlock. Alright, now taking the first look inside the refreshed 2020 A4, as you can see, there's pretty substantial changes to the details, even though the main aspects of the design stay relatively the same. Now, like we've already mentioned, we do have incomplete information on this model. However, it is pretty safe to assume you'll have about the same number of color options and material options as last year. So that does mean you'll continue to have standard real leather seating available in black, brown, beige, or gray, and then you'll have several different interior wood choices that you can pick between. As far as your door trim, it is mostly the same as last year. So you continue to have a soft touch armrest here, or a leatherette one if you go for a higher end model. You have some leather above that. It is soft touch across the top, and you have this beautiful real open pore wood. Now you'll notice one change here is that we now have some piano black accents up here, and then we also have 2-person memory seating on this premium with the convenience package and up. Now as far as the seats themselves, they'll continue to be 8-way power adjusting across the entire lineup with the 4-way lumbar. We also have the sport seat, so as you can see the bolsters are quite a bit thicker. We have a brand new design this year with some really nice stitching details, particularly like this, really adds some character to it. And you will also notice that we have a manual thigh extension, which is a nice touch. Now do keep in mind that this is the premium trim level. However, even in this model, you can see a step up in terms of your material quality. So across your upper dash here, this continues to be a nicely grained soft touch plastic. And then dropping down to the middle here, you have really extensive use of this beautiful open pore wood. It runs down through here as well. And then in the areas where you're gonna see the changes is the fact that we now have a piano black trim, which covers all the center console, a little bit up here, as well as on the door trims. And then if you went for the Prestige or the Premium Plus model, you would also get a leatherette covering here, as well as on the door trim, which I already pointed out. Now to start up the A4, just press the button. Now when you power it on, you will notice Audi's virtual cockpit system on most of the models. However, on this premium, we actually do not have it. This is the first Audi we have ever been in that doesn't have the virtual cockpit. So in case you're ever wondering what the standard version looks like, this is it. So basically, you've got your analog gauges, and then you have a roughly 5-inch display in the middle. It does still have plenty of information here. You can just scroll through some relatively basic stuff, but you won't have anything fancy like your Google Maps or anything like that. All you can do is just turn it on and off. Of course, on the Prestige level, you would also have a head-up display. And then coming back to the steering wheel, this is your typical Audi steering wheel. It's the same as last year, so it continues to be nicely leather wrapped. You can also get heating if you go for a higher trim level with the warm weather package, or excuse me, cold weather package. Standard on all models is going to be rain sensing wipers and paddle shifters, and then the steering wheel is manually tilt and telescoping. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about storage here, because this is one of the bigger areas that have improved for 2020. So we'll start out with our center console here. This here is larger than it was last year, and you do find one USB port. This is a USB Type-C now. Of course, the armrest does adjust. You have a little slot for your key fob right there. And then we come to our big change, and that's that you now have a nice center bin here. Basically, this takes up the same spot that used to be for the MMI controller, since we've now gone to a touch screen, but we'll get into that in just a minute. You continue to have your 2 cup holders, and then another spot up here with your second USB port and a 12-volt outlet. So storage has definitely improved, and you have a lot more places to stick things like your phone. Now as far as your electronic shifter, this does stay the same this year, so you can pull back for drive, bump to the right for manual shifting, or you can use the paddle shifters, of course. And then you can go all the way up to go into reverse. Of course, we do have the standard backup camera since this is the premium model. However, there is a 360-degree camera option that remains available for the Prestige level. And then behind it, you have your electronic shifter. Off to the right side of that, we have the audio controller. Obviously, we're just going to have the standard audio system, but you do remain having the option of the Bang & Olufsen sound systems. But we'll go ahead and sample this standard version. actually I'm pretty impressed by the sound quality of this system. You know, I thought it was going to be crappy, but actually it's pretty good, and decent bass as well. Now heading on up here, we have our row buttons here. This defeats your auto start stop, and you also have your drive mode selector. So even your standard model does come with 4 drive modes, including an individual one where you can click into that and change a few different things as far as your steering and your drive configuration. And then one of the areas that really hasn't changed this year is your climate controls. This continues to be 3-zone automatic. It's standard equipment across all of the trim levels. I've always been a fan of this. You basically just press down to preview, and you can go up and down with these nice metal knobs here. You also notice that even on this base model, you have standard 3-stage heated seats, and then your 3-stage ventilation. That's available in the warm weather package on Premium Plus and Prestige. But now that brings us up here to the biggest update for 2020, and that is the brand new MMI touch response system now on board in the A4. As the name implies, this is a touch display, and like I said, you do not have a controller anymore, so the only way to interact with this is actually the display. So I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a tutorial through this. Basically, this is like the top display from the other Audi models with the 2 displays. It's just the top one. This is 10.1 inches, which is up significantly from the 7-inch one that used to be on the premium model and the 8.3-inch displays that used to be on the old one. So you'll notice this is now standard on all of the trim levels. And as you can see, it's a very nice and simple layout, very clean looking. You just have some tiles on a home screen with all your different settings and some shortcuts along the side. The base premium model does not have navigation. Of course, if it did, you would have the Google Earth Maps. Regardless though, even the base model does come with the Audi smartphone interface, so you can connect to the USB and have either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay and use the Google Maps through there. Now, not really related to this, as far as one other thing that you might have to get used to, your garage door openers have moved to inside of the display instead of up on the roof. And then almost all of the models will come with this auto-dimming mirror with the compass. And then a regular size moonroof. This does remain standard across the entire A4 lineup. Alright, so that's going to conclude everything to look at in the front part of the cabin. So we'll go ahead and hand it off to Mason to check out the back parts.
So hopping into the 2020 A4's rear seat, you aren't going to find very many changes for 2020. You know, this refresh tended to focus on the exterior, not really the back seat areas, which honestly was probably a good thing because this A4 comes really nicely equipped in all configurations. So even on this base premium, we do have standard rear air vents as well as our own climate controls because we do have the tri-zone setup. And something worth noting though that you are going to miss out on this base model is the charging USB ports. That is going to be reserved for the Premium Plus and Prestige models. However, we do still have a 12-volt power outlet. And another thing that we're missing out on is the heated rear seat option. That was included in the cold weather package last year, so I don't see any reason why that would change this year. So you should still have the heated rear seat option. And of course, you do still have fold-down armrests with cup holders inside. And in terms of the rear space, you are going to find 36 inches of rear legroom and 37 inches of rear headroom, which does place it actually ahead of most of the competition, like the BMW 3 Series and Mercedes C-Class. And behind this seat is scooted mostly back. And behind this, I have about 4 or 5 inches of rear legroom, and my feet don't have any issues sliding up under the seat. So for most families, this will definitely be enough space. And like I said, it is very class competitive, if not ahead of most of the class. And walking up to the trunk, all you have to do to open it is just find the button under the lid. And when you do, you will find that nice dampening. I have to say I'm a big fan of that. It really is almost like a power trunk, how it opens all the way up. But in terms of the actual space back here, you're going to find 13 cubic feet of space, which puts it kind of in the middle of the pack. That is better than the Mercedes C-Class. However, that is also worse than the BMW 3 Series, so kind of in the middle of its German rivals. However, Audi does finish it very nicely back here. You have a nice carpeting, you have nets on each side, as well as the ability to fold the seats. And up under the floor, we do have a spare tire. Now, another nicety that Audi throws in as standard equipment across the board is this 8-way power adjusting seat with 4-way power lumbar support. It's a very nice feature. Most in the class do not give you that much adjustment. And in front of you, you do also have a good sized glove box. It is nicely felt lined, LED illuminated. And up top, we have a sun visor, light and mirror, and it does also detach and extend. Well guys, that sums up all of the rear seat stuff about this refreshed 2020 A4. So now let's go ahead and take it out on the road and see if it can live up to its big rivals like the BMW 3 Series.
This is the 2020 Audi A4. It's definitely the 2-liter TFSI 45 engine. And if the specs carry over from last year, what we'll be looking at is 248 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque.
And those are definitely very healthy numbers for this class, and you can definitely feel that when you accelerate.
Now, if you remember last year, there was an Ultra model that comes with front-wheel drive, and that had less than 200 horsepower. But what most people buy is the one with Quattro, and it has this powertrain set up here.
And if you're looking for the performance difference between the Ultra and this, you're looking at 7.1 seconds 0 to 60 on the Ultra model, and then if you go for the 45, which is what this is, it's a 5.6 seconds 0 to 60, which is a very healthy number.
This is a very stout powertrain setup. Just like it was in previous years, this 2-liter turbo is strong. It's strong all the way through the power band, and it really gets you going.
And no one does the 2-liter engines as good as the Germans. It's very smooth and refined in its power delivery. It never feels strained. It really just...
It's one of Audi and Volkswagen's specialties. So especially when paired with a dual clutch, which is what we have here, is 7-speed dual clutch automatic. Once again, that's the same as last year as well. And that continues to blast off lightning fast shifts, very smooth as well. No weird hesitations or lags at low city speeds.
And getting up to just a normal speed here, I do want to discuss the ride quality, especially because a lot in this class can, maybe go too far in the comfort side of things, maybe too far in the sport side of things, and I do think that the A4 has a good balance between that. It definitely doesn't feel like numb and mundane. It feels pretty sporty, but the ride quality is really not sacrificed with that. Stuff like the BMW 3 Series, you're definitely going to notice has a stiffer ride than this, and I think that most people in this class of vehicle can really appreciate that comfortable ride that the A4 is going to offer.
As far as the steering itself, You know, like a lot of Audi setups, it is on the lighter end of things, but as you can see, it's very fast responding. So you have quick maneuvering, you know, and good responsiveness in that regard. But it definitely is going to be lighter, more luxury oriented. And if you want something a little bit firmer, tighter, sportier, you've always got the Audi S4, which should be out hopefully in the next month or two. What I'll go ahead and do is take the drive mode and switch us into dynamic here. Yeah, the dynamic mode definitely dials things up. The throttle response is really nice and fast, very linear as well. And then the steering, it does get tighter. Still not heavy by any stretch of the imagination, but it does get tighter, and it feels a little bit more progressive.
And the last thing that I do want to talk about here is the fuel economy. So you're going to have pretty good fuel economy for its class. So if you go for the Ultra model with front wheel drive, that's going to come in at 27 city, 35 highway, 30 combined, which is really quite excellent fuel economy. And then you have this model, which is the Quattro, and that's going to come in a little bit less than that at 24 city, 32 highway, 27 combined. So if you're wondering, one of the main reasons why you might get the Ultra is for the additional fuel economy, because that is 3 mpg better, but do keep in mind that you're going to have quite a bit of a performance decrease with that.
So all in all, I don't really notice any differences in the way that this 2020 A4 drives in comparison to the 2019, but that's a good thing. The A4 has always been just a very pleasant vehicle to drive. It's one of the vehicles that does a really good job of kind of balancing some sport characteristics, but with a you know, emphasis on luxury, because this is a luxury car.
Alright, and as far as the pricing is concerned, Audi has not quite released all of the pricing for this 2020 model, so we're operating pretty much on just what we have. And what we have is the Premium, which is the very base model. That's going to start at $40,900 according to the sticker. We also have optional Tango Red paint for $595, as well as a $1,500 convenience package, and then the destination charge of $995. Brings the total for this particular one as equipped to $43,990, which, you know, as far as if I'm rating like this particular model, you know, I think it's pretty well equipped for that $43,000 price point. That's definitely a lot cheaper than a lot of its rivals, and you are getting quite a bit with this very base model. Well guys, that sums up this review of the refreshed 2020 Audi A4. We really appreciate you watching, and if you haven't subscribed already, we would really appreciate if you did. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.